that golden spike in 1869. It opened up the American West to the Southern Pacific line. 1,000 miles of wilderness, heard the hammers ring, and the voices of the Gandhi dancers sing. Southern Pacific, roll on, roll on. From Chicago to the Rockies, America's your home. Portland to New Orleans, all along the Golden Crest. Southern Pacific, spirit that won the West.
Hello, I'm Jon Larson with Southern Pacific Railroad. I'm a computer systems engineer in our management services department. Our department is the computer division of the railroad, and we support all of the computer applications for the entire railroad. I'm also an instructor in total quality management. I've been a facilitator on 33 teams in the past year and a half, and I'm a very proud team leader of the POWERFAX quality team. You're going to be hearing our very exciting story today. Southern Pacific Railroad, we're 132 years old. We are the 5th largest railroad in the United States. We have 20,000 employees. We opened the West back in 1869, where the first transcontinental link was completed. We operate 16,000 miles of track in 16 states. And we have 100,000 cars online at any one time and 2,000 locomotives that we manage. Railroads are 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week operation, and the computer systems have to be nonstop to support the operations and the nonstop movement of freight across our system. The types of freight which we haul on our railroad include truck and container intermodal traffic. We haul a lot of coal, we haul a lot of food products, grains, and stuff. We haul a lot of automobile parts and a very, very large concentration of petrochemical products. We have our computers that run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to support the railroad, and the movement of cars are moving all the time. Very important media for us to deliver information internally and to our customers includes fax or facsimile, and that's the subject of this quality team that you'll be hearing about it. The kinds of information that we deliver via fax that are critical to the operations of our railroad and to our customers include car notifications. Every single pending delivery of a full car to a customer is reported to that customer via fax a day at a time. Train instructions to our locomotive engineers are very often delivered via fax, whereby they cannot even leave the yard with a full train without receiving, in many cases via fax, the instructions. Many of our customers, hundreds of our largest customers, receive every single day from us fax listings of the locations of all of their freight that they're shipping with us nationwide. So you can see that fax is very important to the smooth operations of our railroad and the continued operations of our customers. The mission statement of our company, Southern Pacific, if you can zero in on this, does emphasize that we are very customer-oriented, we wish to be very highly responsive to the needs of our customers, and we have to be very, very cost effective. So the exciting story that we're going to tell you today is very, very cost effective of use of new technology and being very, very highly responsive with literally up to the minute notification to our customers of where their freight is.
Hi, my name is Jon Lundberg, and I'm an Assistant Director with Agency Operations Division of Southern Pacific Lines. And our function is basically to support notifications to carload customers and intermodal customers throughout the Southern Pacific system. We did this with telephones and a number of employees up until the time fax technology came along. And the vendor that Southern Pacific chose initially, although they could do the job, they had difficulty confirming whether or not the facsimile deliveries were actually made, which led to customer complaints. We also had a problem with storing, the physical storing of paper documents. So this led to our request, the operating department request of our MIS group, to come up with a better means by which to get the facsimile notifications to our customers, both internal and external. Our need was tied to a need to link with our existing systems and also to be able to confirm that the notifications were sent. And one of the key things was to allow an electronic storage method.
So as important as fax is to our continued operations for ourselves and our customers, there were some general concerns related to the use of fax. Number one is that we were growing very, very rapidly, 25% a year. A second problem was that we lacked control over this fax operation in terms of being able to assure consistent delivery on a timely basis. And a very alarming thing was our costs were escalating out of sight. We were up over $50,000 a month for the use of an outside fax service over which we had very little control. So with that general concern area, the POWERFAX team was formed. We have 9 members from 3 general areas of the company. We were a cross-functional team. The greatest user of faxes in the operations of the railroad is the operating department. The nature of this team was that a number of our members are actually located permanently in other states, myself being located in San Francisco. I can't remember throughout the life of a project once when we had all 9 members available in a team for one meeting. We made extensive use of electronic mail. We made extensive use of conference calls, extensive use of one-on-one and one-on-3 type things, but we got the job done. Ron Fritsch, who's Director of Field Services with over 30 years in the railroad. Jim Haas runs our Western Regional Accounting Office down in Monterey Park outside of Los Angeles. Jon Lundberg is our Assistant Director of Field Services. Tom Barnes is our Director of our Intermodal Agency Operations. Intermodal is the fastest growing portion of the railroad business today, which is where containers, you've seen these big aluminum containers are actually located. They go on ship, trains, and trucks. And so Tom Barnes was instrumental, and John Reininger had a lot to do with train movement and with our train dispatching operations, which also use fax. We wanted to use our own communication networks, so Roy Robinson, who will be talking to you a little later, who is our General Superintendent of Communications for the whole Southern Pacific Communications Department, and Bridget Neff, who actually runs our communication data control, were instrumental. And George McKenna, who will be talking to you also, and myself are in management services. We're the people that run the computer programs that support our customers. So that you can see we did operate in a cross-functional environment. Our stakeholders to this project were many. They were internal and external. Our external customers, of course, are the key stakeholders here. We deal with, on a fax basis, with close to 9,000 vendors as well. Clearly, these are external stakeholders interested in the outcome of our project. Internally, we had the communications department, the accounting department, purchasing and materials, as you'll see, got involved with us on phase 2, operations department very heavily, and our own management services department. So that we clearly had a large number of people that were interested in the outcome of this project. Quality teams at Southern Pacific follow a 5-step process through the life of the team. And we're going to be reviewing with you now the 5 steps which the POWERFAX team went through. Step 1 was the problem definition. Step 2 is the analysis. Step 3 is the countermeasures implementation. Step 4 is reporting of the results and standardization. And step 5 is the next steps. In step 1, as the team began to delve into the problems, we located the problems, specified them down into 5 specific areas. Number 1, the sender of a critical fax had no way to find out if it was actually delivered or not. The county department was manually making copies of sent faxes, storing them in tens of thousands of manila folders to prove to customers we had notified them, which is important for demurrage accounting purposes. We had no way to force immediate delivery of very important faxes. For instance, we found we had trains, if you could imagine 6 units, a crew, and 120 cars sitting in a yard waiting for the fax delivery of their track warrants and bulletins, which are required by the FRA to alert the locomotive crew engineers as to potential problem points in upcoming trackage. We had no way to locate failed messages and to cause them to be resent. We had poor error recovery. And finally, we discovered we were spending over $600,000 a year and growing for this service. So that we moved very rapidly then with a sufficient problem statement into the analysis. We're talking now the period of October of 91 through February of 92. The analysis phase, we did a lot of statistical analysis on the destinations of faxes, the lengths, the types of messages, and we did a lot of computer analysis of the data to break down what faxes were being sent where and when. And as you can see from the attached graphics here, we discovered that we had very critical peak delivery times. Monday morning, as you can see, shows up. So we had to design a countermeasure that could basically handle the peak load condition. Further analysis that we did a lot of financial analysis that showed that by eliminating a third-party fax service and by eliminating the labor to store copies of faxes, to actually improve demurrage collections, to be able to show customers that we had notified them of deliveries, with growth of new applications and reduced train departures, it was quite easy to show a potential $500,000 a year savings in the financial analysis. Secondly, we did a technology analysis. We were very fortunate in that there was a whole brand new breakthrough in technology in the area of microsystems and faxing technology. There was a whole new generation of low-cost, high-performance technology just hitting the streets, which we could take advantage of. And this stuff can be purchased for tens of thousands instead of millions of dollars, as was done in the previous 1 to 2 years. The analysis that we did in step 2, we were quite intimidated by the risk to the company in that fax is critical to run the operation. We have very high volumes, much larger than most of your Fortune 500 companies. Railroads tend to be very fax intensive. And clearly there was nobody out there, no vendors in the marketplace at all, doing what it was we intended to do, which was to install our own in-house computer system customized to our requirements, which could transmit all of our computer-generated faxes on a reliable, cost-efficient basis. There were no vendors out there. Nobody could do it. So it was pretty clear that we would have to implement a new system with new design. So that completed the analysis, and we'll move on now to the recommended countermeasures step. So having completed the problem analysis and the analysis periods, in step 3 for the countermeasures, we'll talk about that right now. The countermeasure was to replace the outside fax vendor service with a low-cost, custom-designed, in-house, computer-based fax system designed to our own requirements using brand-new technology to handle the current and future growth requirements and to provide for all the deficiencies in our current service we mentioned earlier. The key requirements for the countermeasure were that it had to run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, non-stop. So it had to be a bulletproof, fault-tolerant, fail-safe system, which means it had to be able to take a licking and keep on ticking. So it literally had to be guaranteed uptime. So this was very, very important. We couldn't hold trains up because the fax system was down for maintenance or repair. Peak processing was probably 30 times the average hour, so we had to guarantee no delays during the peak periods. We had to interface to a myriad of computer systems at Southern Pacific that were all in place. We could not modify all of the existing computer programs to interface to the new system, so we had to program the new system so that it would be transparent to all of the existing applications and computers at SP that were currently generating facsimile. We wanted to run unattended. We didn't want to have to add jobs to sit there and run this system. And it was also would be helpful if we could interface to our own private communications network where our rates run 5 to 10% of the public carrier rates.
Hello, I'm Roy Robinson. I'm the head of the communications department for Southern Pacific Lines. When John brought me in as a part of this cross-functional team, we'd already identified a lot of the benefits that we hope to derive from this new facsimile system, but John was pretty concerned about the costs. We were able to help him on that, fortunately. What we did was look at the total costs of transmitting facsimile. We found that we were going to a public vendor, and the facsimiles were costing us about 80 cents per minute to transmit. We sent those from San Francisco, typically, across the country to St. Louis at full fare commercial rates. There they were distributed. We paid the rate for that, and then transmitted on over the public network again at full fare to their final destination. We looked at our traffic, at our facsimile traffic, trying to find some way to reduce our costs of transmission. When we looked at this, we found that well over half of our transmissions were going to various locations within our own company. The remaining 45% or so were to customers or to shippers or suppliers. A significant part of those were within the local calling area of one of our switches, one of our PBXs. The remainder were fed over the public network. We were able to use our own internal system, which is already in place, to handle our internal communications data and voice. That pretty much on the map here takes us over our entire right-of-way from Portland, Oregon, around through Los Angeles, across the southern part of the U.S. to New Orleans, up through Kansas City, St. Louis, Chicago, and back through Denver to San Francisco. That network is in place. We were able to use this to transmit a good portion of the facsimile traffic. The result was that instead of spending 80 cents per minute for transmissions, on the first of those three types of transmissions, the ones that were internal, there was absolutely no cost per minute. The only limitation on that was the capacity of our own network, and that was sufficient to handle that traffic. The second kind of transmission to customers or to suppliers who are within the local calling area, again, zero cost, because it's a local call from one of our switches, and that again would be handled on our internal network. The third kind of traffic to customers outside of our local calling areas, we were able to take advantage of our volume agreements with a supplier for our off-net services. The cost for that, instead of being 80 cents per minute, was about 11 cents per minute. This was a very significant cost saving, obviously, and a little later on the presentation here we'll get into what those total numbers are.
Hello, my name is George McKenna, and I'm Director of Applications Development for Southern Pacific Company. I became involved in this team when John was first exploring the needs for this kind of technology. We went into full production with this system in January of 1993 with 30,000 faxes per month. Up through last September, our use of the technology has gone up to the point where we're now sending 54,000 faxes per month. The cost of transmitting faxes has gone from an average of $1.20 using the vendor before down to 20 cents today, which results in $54,000 a month in actual bottom line savings to Southern Pacific. That means that within the first 4 months of operation of the new system, we had more than recovered the cost of implementation of the project. The project meets all of our original requirements and specifications. We can generate computer-generated messages to our external customers, notifying car and trailer locations, car and trailer arrivals at destinations. The system's also used for computer-generated notification to internal customers of train instructions and movement clearances, management reports, and electronic mail. Additionally, we now have something we didn't have before, and that's the ability to notify the senders of faxes of the status of the messages that they send. We can now tell when messages are delivered, what time they're delivered, or if they're not delivered, we can retransmit the messages. We can assign priority to our messages so that the really highly critical train movement messages always get delivered immediately. And we have 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week support in our network control center for retrieval or retransmission or rerouting of messages. We now have the very important capability to archive fax messages and to retrieve those messages for confirmation of charges to our customers. And we have 99% plus uptime with the system. It's an unintended operation, and it's available 24 hours a day and 7 days a week.
As a result of the success we've had and the standardization of the initial project, we gained quite a bit of knowledge about fax-based systems and a lot of confidence from management who have supported some other projects now that have been spawned off the basic fax technology. So at Southern Pacific in our quality process, as we end with next steps planning, which is our step 5, it's always interesting to see how the technology or the development, the results of your quality team can be put to use elsewhere. We have a number of new projects coming down the line that we believe will also be saving money. So it's very interesting that as a result of this initial project, there will be other quality teams attacking different areas of the business. So as a close, I'd like to thank you for taking this time and listening to our very exciting story. We as a team have been able to function in looking for the elements that have contributed to our success. It's very clear that the quality process at Southern Pacific empowered us to go out and fix problems. We, as an ad hoc quality team, we got started on our own. We defined our own problem, implemented our own solution. Really didn't have to wait to be told to go out and fix the problem. The methodology of total quality management was very important for helping us to define the problem, collect the data, and really analyze the data. And very clearly the power of the cross-functional team, the strength of our team came from having the stakeholders in the various user departments working with us right up front throughout the whole process. We're clearly focusing on fixing the problem and not assessing the blame for the old system. And our project, because we went through the total quality process, was accepted very, very quickly by SP management in spite of the cost and the risk, because our request for $140,000 followed the TQM process, which our management at Southern Pacific is growingly familiar with. It was very easy. We had a lot of credibility because of the members of the team and the process we followed for assessing the risk and getting a quick approval to proceed with the project. So I don't believe this project could have happened at Southern Pacific without the quality process.
When they drove that golden spike in 1869, It opened up the American West to the Southern Pacific line. 1,000 miles of wilderness, heard the hammers ring and the voices of the Gandhi dancers sing. Southern Pacific, roll on, from Chicago through the Rockies, America's your home. Portland to New Orleans, all along the Golden Crest. Southern Pacific, the spirit that won the West. On spikes and ties laid down in time, some old fiddler's reel. We're forever stitched together with 1,000,000 miles of steel. Right on the clock, that rolling stock helps keep this country great. As long as there's a USA, SP will haul the freight. Southern Pacific, roll on, from Chicago through the Rockies, America's your home. Portland to New Orleans, all along the Golden Crest. Southern Pacific, the spirit that won the West. Cotton Belt, T&L, the Denver, Rio Grande, with all the others proud and strong, coupled hand to hand. Pulling every grade and curve, a single heart and mind, making sure the job gets done out on the SP line. Southern Pacific, roll on, from Chicago through the Rockies, America's your home. Portland to New Orleans, all along the Golden Crest. Southern Pacific, the spirit that won the West. So roll on, big iron lady, through the mountains and the plains. Roll on, men and women, with tradition in your veins. Keep the drive wheels turning all across this great land. Blow that whistle loud and long, the future's in our hands. Southern Pacific, roll on, from Chicago through the Rockies, America's your home.